Hello everyone, a very warm good evening. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to today's MEx Talk. I am profoundly delighted to take an opportunity to introduce the keynote speaker of the evening, Dr. Ringo Rajagopal sir. He is the CEO of uMobi Solutions Corporation in Greater New York City. Dr. Ringo Rajagopal started his career as an assistant manager in Tata Limited. He is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta and has done his Doctorate of Business Administration from Drexel's University LeBow College of Business. Prior to becoming the CEO of uMobi Solutions, his seniority roles in business have been in firms like Ameri 100, Pride Global, P4P Consulting, Sutherland Global Services, TCDlvega, Accenture, Infosys, ABC Consultants, and Usha Martin. He has been an inspiration to many school students like us, and his professional journey itself is very motivating. Today, he is going to enlighten us on the topic entrepreneurship, what, why, and how. Now we request the Honorable Keynote Speaker to address the gathering and cast the light of his knowledge upon us.
Thank you, Anisha. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining in this evening. I hope in the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, I'm hopeful that I leave you with some, nuggets of knowledge that you can leverage, not only in your MBA program, but beyond as you become professionals. So the topic that I have chosen today is about entrepreneurship. Archana, do you want to share the screen, please?
Sure.
Yeah, and Rekha, Hanisha, how do you want to do? You want, your team to ask me questions as I'm going, or would you prefer the questions to come in the end? I'm okay with both. In fact, if it's interactive, I enjoy it more actually. So feel free to stop me if you have a question and say, what did you just say? That sounded like Swahili. What did you just say? So
No. I said that we can continue, as per your choice.
Yeah. So if you, ladies and gentlemen, feel there is a question you would like to ask, please feel free to stop me and ask me, and I'm more than happy to respond.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Great. So let's go into presentation mode, Archana. So I have chosen entrepreneurship simply because I think that is going to be is this in presentation mode, Archana? It's not, I don't think so. I can still see the slide layout on the side. So anyways, as Archana gets ready, as Murphy's Law plays out, the thing about entrepreneurship, I started in a generation, just give you a little bit of a background, building on what Hanisha said. I started my career 31 years ago in Kerala. I started my career in Munnar, which is why I asked if anybody's from Munnar here. So it was truly God's own country, such a beautiful place. I had the privilege of working there for almost 4 years. And then the MBA bug, like all of you, bit me. And I went and did my MBA. And then I got caught in the whole IT services revolution which in the late 90s in India. And so we ended up, my life went into the United States and then entrepreneurial journeys. So I feel that my journey and my learning in the entrepreneurial world has been immensely satisfying, sometimes gruesome, sometimes painful. So I thought I would share a little bit about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Why would you want to be an entrepreneur? And what do entrepreneurs do differently, which hopefully gets them where they are? And we all keep talking about, successful stories. I'm sure if I ask you to name 10 entrepreneurs, you can rattle off names like that. And in India today, entrepreneurship is probably the hottest profession going, right? It is the profession that everybody's aspiring to be, I'm assuming, right? Am I right? Yes,
yes, sir.
Right.
Excellent.
Yes, in
Yeah,
fact,
nice.
Go
ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, Nilesh. No, don't be sorry.
Interesting observation that I saw. A few years back, I had read an article about how India cannot produce the next Google or the next Facebook. And now, if you look at India's startup scenario, it's simply mind blowing. It's astonishing.
Very
How
true.
things have taken such a U-turn.
Very true. Very true. Well said, Nilesh. Archana, I still can't see my presentation.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen now.
Okay, perfect. And it's still not going into presentation mode.
Yeah.
Is it? Let me see if I can do it. Sorry, guys. Typical Murphy's Law, right? Okay, it's happening for me. You want me to share my screen, Archana?
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
no problem. So the first thing about entrepreneurship is you should be able to do everything yourself as well. Okay, so that's the first. Where is my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you see it in presentation mode?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Nilesh said something right about entrepreneurship is now the most hottest activity probably in India. There are entrepreneurs who are probably coming out by the dozens. Earlier, there would be the odd Infosys, Wipro, the odd brand in the 90s. But today, I mean, I don't even think the Western world is able to produce as many entrepreneurs as Infosys is. So, I love the saying by Peter Drucker. Says the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs create futures. They create, they create a path of their own. Till, Steve Jobs showed up, we did not know that a phone does not need a keyboard. Till, so many inventions came up, we did not know that we could do things in a certain way. And so, what is it that differentiates an entrepreneur from the regular other folks who take a more beaten path of doing a corporate role and so on? Okay. So before that, I'm going to try and see if I can, show you this video. I don't think it'll come through here. So I'm going to copy this and show you guys on, let's see. Let me know if you guys can see it, okay? And this guy's a very popular football player called Tom Brady. So bear with my Tom Brady advertisement. Can you guys see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's not audible though, Ringo.
What they
Is
got
it better
lucky.
now?
Yeah.
Yes.
What most don't see is what they've overcome. All the struggles, the daily rejections, the heartaches, the betrayals, the rumors, the criticism, the empty bank account, and all those lonely nights while trying to make their vision a reality. You see, the only difference between the one who quits and the one who doesn't is that they showed up every day. They worked hard every day. They hustled every day. They learned from a proven mentor every day. They improved every day. They did all this even though they felt like quitting every day. And eventually, they became who they are today.
So coming back, so I think I kind of gave you guys a sense of where I'm going to head with my conversation. Okay. Coming back to presentation mode. So the first thing I want to kind of touch upon is, why do people become entrepreneurs? And again, guys, chime in if you feel you have a thought, okay? So because I would love your feedback and your thoughts, then I can accordingly tailor my responses to you. The first thing is, is the word grit. There is enough and more research is available globally that success for students and for professionals is not necessarily being the smartest guy in the class. The guys who truly succeeded have got a growth mindset. They have the grit to power on day in, day out, day in, day out. You do not give up. Most of us give up the battle in our heads. And that's what is different in an entrepreneur. That's why they become entrepreneurs. They have that grit. And grit is not a natural skill, it's an acquired skill. Grit comes to you from resilience that you can build from within yourself. And that comes from confidence. And all these points that I'm going to touch upon are kind of interconnected. Who has heard of this word BHAG? Has anybody heard that? Oh, you guys are in first year, right? Hello?
Yes, sir. Most of
Yeah,
us
we
are
kind of
also-
mixed, first and second year.
Okay, has anybody heard of the term BHAG? If you have not, it's okay. It's not a quiz, so don't worry. If you have not, I'm going to give you a free this thing. You can, next time when you go into a marketing class or a strategy class, throw this at your prof. He will love you for that. So BHAG is big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a term from the 80s, but it still has relevance. Big, hairy, audacious goals are big goals, putting somebody on the moon. Like Elon Musk says, I want to retire to the Mars. Okay. There are enough success stories, and I'm sure in your MBA program, you will read about these case studies and success stories. When you set yourself a huge, audacious goal, a lot of things start happening around it. When in the 60s, USA decided to put somebody on the moon, the number of inventions and innovations that happened because of that? Hundreds. Velcro, so on. I rattle off things that came thanks to the NASA project to put somebody on the moon. Innovation was at its peak. So the desire to solve a big problem is a burning desire in an entrepreneur. Then is vision. You have a clear vision of what it should look like. In your head, you should know absolutely where you're headed. I don't know if you guys, when there'll be the occasional guy, you're sitting in the car, who has a sense, right? How you're lost in a particular place, you've gone to a bar or something, you guys are lost, you want to get back home. There'll be one guy in the car who will know exactly how to head, or if you're walking somewhere. They have a sense of direction. They have a gut sense that this is where I need to go. And that too, guys, is not a natural skill. Most people keep saying it's a natural skill. It's an acquired skill. It comes with the next point that I'm going to make. The more you have of that, the more clearer your vision is. The more you expose yourselves to experiences, knowledge, the more clearer is your vision, because you will know where your pitfalls are, where your successes lie. So entrepreneurs come with a clear vision. And the next thing is, of course, pursuit of knowledge. You got to be a student for life. You got to be a student, because what you knew yesterday is already stale today. What you know today is going to be stale tomorrow, because someone else is going to learn that stuff anyways. You got to keep trying newer ways to differentiate yourself. So knowledge cannot be, I learned something 10 years back, I'm good. Well, you'll turn into a dinosaur so quickly. So please, as B school students, have that hunger for knowledge. There is something you can learn from anybody and everybody. I'm sure there are things that you can teach me today which I do not know. And the final thing is the desire to work very hard. When work becomes your hobby or your pleasure, it's no more work. the best guy I can quote is Sachin Tendulkar, who said that my passion is my work. So I'm sure all of you have hobbies, you have a passion. If I woke you up at 1 in the night and said, hey, can we go do that? You will come running to do that because it's your passion. But if you turn it into a job and it says this is 9 to 5, 5 o'clock, I clock out, I clock in, you cannot be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is somebody for whom it's his passion. He loves it. He loves it like his hobby or her hobby. Any thoughts, any questions? So please stop me if you can. Otherwise, I'll go to the next slide. So,
Sir, talking about Elon Musk, you referred to him. I mean, you referred to
yes.
Elon Musk, his passion.
Yes.
I've read about him quite a bit. The sacrifices that entrepreneurs in general make when they work super hard. For example, he works 100 hours, 41 hours at SpaceX, and something like that at Tesla, and then the things, the things like family and all those things that get sacrificed. How long is it sustainable, this sort of entrepreneurship? Like, I mean, working 100 hours a week.
So that's a great question. I'm sorry, who asked this question? Is it Nilesh? Sorry, go Giridhar.
Giridhar.
Sorry,
Giridhar.
So Giridhar, what is your hobby? What's your passion? Do you have a hobby or a passion?
Sir, it is finance. Yeah, it is finance, like reading about finance, like
finance is your passion.
all the economic developments, that take place all across the world, following that, knowing that, those economic policies, etc.
I was expecting cricket or movies or something more mundane, but yeah, this is good. But like for me, my passion is, I would shamelessly admit, my passion is cricket. If somebody called me at 1 a.m. in the night and said, hey, there's a match at 6 a.m., I will go running. I'll don my whites and I'll run. So the reason I say that is easy to relate. I was passionate about cricket when I was a 5-year-old. I'm passionate about cricket even today. It's just a passion. So nobody has to tell me to do it. I am intrinsically motivated to go and do it. That is entrepreneurship. For Elon Musk, SpaceX or Tesla or any other, his first venture, it was his passion. He could not think of anything else other than this. And so when you do that, you don't feel like you're working hard. You don't feel you're doing work. You're doing a passion. You're enjoying it. Like some people like to, go to the gym or whatever. When they're doing it, they're just absorbed. I'm sure you've noticed it. Probably finance is your passion. You're reading up about finance articles and you suddenly realize 3 hours, 4 hours go by. You don't realize how the time went, right? Or when you're with some friends, let's say you have company of friends who you enjoy their company. When you spent a few hours with them, you don't know how time flew. And suddenly you say, where did those 4 hours go? Where did those 5 hours go? And then there's a boring class, let's say, and suddenly, when the hell is the bell going to ring, man? You're going to just sitting there, right? You're hoping the bell rings. That happens. So if you can convert your passion as your work, or some people are fortunate to do that, there is no stopping them. Does that answer your question, Girdhar?
Yes. Yeah, it does. I mean, there was just one more additional question that just crossed my mind, and let me just put it. Yeah. So when these entrepreneurs, they go on to become big professionals, like really influential businessmen. For example, right now, in the February of 2021, this year itself, Elon Musk was $30 billion worth, which is less than half of what Mukesh Ambani is right now. Now, today, he is worth more than 300 billion, worth more than ExxonMobil, which is probably the largest oil company, I mean, after Aramco. So, I mean, it has changed drastically. But looking at his personal life, or even, like things that he likes to do, sometimes weird things, even in age, like things people talks about. how do you handle such things once you pick up this huge, like whatever one word that you say has a huge impact, and there are rumors going on. For example, the video which you showed right now, that person was saying that, rumors and all those things. How do you handle that when you become really influential and everyone, talks about you?
Well, I think as you rightly said, Elon Musk is like a little country of his own. His net worth is more than the GDP of many countries, right? So yeah, those are the exceptions to the rule. But the vast majority are a smaller group of people who are probably not going to hit those numbers all the time. And hopefully they don't make it to the news every time. Personally, as an entrepreneur, I don't want to make it to the news. I'm happy just running my company happily, doing the right things, generating jobs, providing customer satisfaction to my customers, giving a great opportunity for my colleagues to have a great place to work in, and and personally be satisfied. So broadly, entrepreneurs are pursuing a little passion of their own, right? And some of them hit that, it hit that velocity, escape velocity, and they just take off. And when that happens, Giridhar, believe me, there are enough defense mechanisms around it. Like today, Facebook has become Meta, right? People are after them. Zuckerberg was a poster child till the longest time. Now suddenly the poor guy is turning into some kind of a villain. So it's part and parcel of that journey. Everybody, if you look back in history, who remembers Ford? Ford in the pre-war era was like he was the Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk was producing cars. Then came the next generation of entrepreneurs, right? So it's a cycle and it's going to happen. And you just roll with the punches. That's all. You cannot give up. And that's where the concept of grit and the concept of not giving up on your passion and your vision. Distractions will come. There will be times when you want to give up and say, what the hell, why am I doing all this? It's not even worth it. I'm so happy I have 300 billion in the bank. I can just relax. Next 10 generations can relax. Typically, you cannot. You want to power through, you want to solve that problem too. So entrepreneurs do not like giving up. It's the worst thing for them to give up. You're down, but you're never out as an entrepreneur. So if you wish to be an entrepreneur, Giridhar, the first thing you have to build is grit. Second thing is hunger for knowledge and working very hard. And you also want to have a clear vision where you want to head. And sometimes vision is an ongoing journey. It's an ideation, it's an organic process. As you progress through your journey, you say, oh, okay, you'll start pivoting. That's what the word pivot, I'm sure you've heard startups say pivot. Pivot is nothing, but you've got more knowledge and suddenly realize you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. And you pivot and you take a different path. That's all. As simple as that. Okay. Great. So,
Yes, sir.
welcome. So basically, this is my, if I were to summarize, if you say, hey, Ringo, I want to be an entrepreneur. So what is it? What is entrepreneurship? What entails? It's almost like a profession today. If I want to be an entrepreneur, what are the things I should be worried about? So the 4 things are, first, accountability. As an entrepreneur, you cannot look around the room and say, oh, well, you're supposed to do it. It's your job. It's your job. No, nothing is your job. The buck stops with you. You are finally responsible for anything and everything that happens within the organization, because it is your decision, your goals, your vision, which has prompted people to take actions. And if the actions do not fall in line with your path, there's going to be aberration, there's going to be dissonance, there's going to be confusion. That's because you have not put a clear vision. That's when people start stumbling and muddling around. Accountability, you cannot expect someone else to take accountability. There is no sales, there is no money in the bank, people are lazy, people are horrible. When an entrepreneur complains like that, well, he's not an entrepreneur then. An entrepreneur takes responsibility for everything that's going on, takes the burden, and runs with the team. He carries the team with him. The next thing is building the trust. You need to build trust across the board. You build trust with your investors. You build trust with your employees. You build trust with your customers. And you build trust in society that this company is reputed. And trust, I was telling Archana yesterday, cannot be bought. It can only be earned. Trust is something you earn every day by your actions. You start earning trust. And thirdly, goal orientation. You need to have a clear goal orientation, why I'm doing what I'm doing. You cannot say, hey, I'm just going to muddle around and hoping something will stick. Cannot happen. You do your best, and still you'll miss the mark many times. Most times you'll miss the mark, by the way. Most times. But you should be very clear that I'm headed in that direction. And each time you miss, you go back to the loop of saying, why did I miss? What did I do wrong? What else can I change in my parameters to make sure I don't miss it the next time? And finally, execution excellence. If I want to build a world-class organization as an entrepreneur, I need to have all the parts of my organization functioning like a symphony. You look at great organizations that have functioned. You can never sense, any disharmony. It's like a nice, smooth car, no noise, beautifully flying at 80 miles an hour. That happens when you, as the leader of that organization, as the entrepreneur, have a clear vision as to who does what, where does the baton get handed off to the next team, who does what. You need to be like that conductor of your symphony. The ability to conduct everyone harmoniously. So it's a cycle, and execution happens when you have accountability, and accountability happens when you build trust. And trust is a two-way street. Just as much you want to be trusted, you should make sure you have people you trust as well. You can hand over responsibility to. And they all should have goal orientation. So this, in a nutshell, I feel are the building blocks if any of you are considering entrepreneurship as a profession post your MBA. Ask yourselves, how do you stack up against these kind of skills? Okay? And kind of building on that, how do entrepreneurial firms really succeed? At the core of any organization, the core of any successful organization, they were all entrepreneurial organizations. No organization just one day woke up and said, hey, here it is. 5,000 people get started. No, every organization started off in a garage or a little shack or whatever. It's all has a success story. And it at the core, the most important thing in my mind is the leader's vision, and the people he or she brings on board. It is so critical. It is so critical, and please internalize this, which is why I feel the human resources function is all the more important, all the more critical in the times to come. And in the years to come, it will become more and more sophisticated and more scientific. Human resources will not be the way we know it. At least I knew it when I started my career. It is going to be a very critical function in the success of great organization, because finding the right people who match with culture, with attitude, with the goal orientation, all of that will need to align for you to have these moving parts working successfully. And once these three are in unison, what is it that, and if you notice, all of them are interrelated. If you just think a little deeper into this, all of them are interrelated. Firstly is to build that common goal. We want to build a great company. Here I'll share a story with you. When I was a young professional many years ago, I had the privilege of meeting the country head of Mitsui. I don't know how many of you heard of it. It's a pretty large Japanese conglomerate. And this gentleman, I was in my 20s then, and this gentleman was a pretty senior guy, but you know how Asians look very young. You can make out how old he or she is. So I happened to ask him. I said, "Sir, how long have you been in Mitsui?" I think he said something like 35 years. Then I said, "Wow." I said, "Sir, you don't look it firstly." And he said, 35 years. Why did you stay in Mitsui for 35 years? You did not look for another, because I was at that time in a recruiting firm. My job was to headhunt people and place them in new places. So he's not a good candidate for me, because if he's going to spend 35 years, I can't even place him somewhere. So he was not somebody I want to. He was not a good guy for me. So I asked him, "Why do you do that?" So he said something which stuck in my head forever. He said, most people like to work in and look for their opportunities and jump for their own personal benefit. But people like me in Japan, the culture is we want to make our own company bigger than the competition so that we enjoy all the benefits and all the powers, which a rival company would have given to me as a carrot, asking me to leave my current company and join them. And that stuck in my head. I said, that's the answer. If you can build your own company, which is best in class with everything that an employee would look for, why would they want to go? Why would they want to leave you? Why would they think of jumping ship? So building that common goal of building a great organization, and that byproduct is stability, motivation, intrinsic, self-starters, all of that are byproducts of that. And again, you got to lead by example. The next thing is excellence. Excellence in anything you do to the best of your abilities. You cannot take, okay, this is good enough, let's go. No, that kaam chalao thing does not work. You need to insist. That's why if you see, I'm sure you've heard stories about Steve Jobs, fretting over design. He frets over very small things. Like, for example, the cell phone, this curved thing, that's Steve Jobs. He thought that the curved thing makes sure that the phone doesn't break faster. Small things. There should be only one button. There should be no training manual for a phone as to how to use a phone. It should be so easy that you press a button and the phone will tell you what to do. So pursuing excellence becomes a habit. And that's when entrepreneurial firms succeed. And of course, hard work. It's the word hard work. I don't know if I could have used any other term there, but it is just that you just enjoy your work. You just get immersed in your work. Working 14 hours, 15 hours is like, wow, I'm having a great time. And that comes with finding like-minded individuals who are pursuing a common goal and what makes them happy. And that comes from the fact that you are knowledgeable. You gather knowledge. Like, you people are right now in the gathering phase of your life. I would insist that just gather all the knowledge you can get. No knowledge is bad knowledge, believe me. Sometimes you'll say, what use is this to me? Believe me, it'll come in handy and you'll thank me for it. No knowledge is bad knowledge. It just, you need to know where to use it and when to use it. Be student for life. Gather knowledge. Make sure that you're internalizing what comes to you. And then belief. There has to be belief in your goal. There has to be belief in your colleagues. There has to be belief in your product, in your leader, in your vision, everything. And it's a two-way street. If you cannot build belief that we believe we can be a great company, you will not be a great company. If you believe we can do something, your mind starts, and there's enough behavioral studies around it. I won't bore you with it. I'm sure your behavioral science professors will share that with you. And when you start positively visualizing something, your brain starts working towards it. Like, I'll give you a small example. I'm going to corrupt all of you. I'm going to say, think of the color yellow. Okay? I'll just say, think of the color yellow. All of you just take a minute, think of the color yellow. I assure you, for the rest of today, whenever yellow shows up in your life somewhere, you will observe it. You will start seeing that color. You'll start observing it and saying, hey, that's yellow. That's yellow. And if it doesn't, do let me know. It's a proven behavioral exercise. So belief that we can do it, we can see it, it will happen, is critical to build successful entrepreneurial organizations. And finally, trust. This trust is the most important thing. You lose trust, then, well, everything is gone thereafter. So building trust, again, is a journey. You can't just build trust overnight. Every transaction that you do, every little thing that you do, how you deal with your colleagues, how you deal with your superiors, subordinates, customers, vendors, society at large, family. I'm sure you hear of people, oh, that guy is an army officer, or he is something. How did you find that out by just looking at him or her? It is because of their behavior. They exhibit certain characteristics which tell you that these are the traits that an army officer possesses. And that identity gives you trust. You feel, okay, this guy's going to be able to take care of me. So that is so critical in building. So if you look at any, I know this is a short conversation, but I'm just kind of giving you the building blocks for you to then use these tools and look at entrepreneurial organizations or organizations which are successful, and you kind of track it back to their entrepreneurial days. These are exactly the things they did. There would be some long-term players in the organization. They would be very focused on knowledge. They'll constantly invest in knowledge. They believe in themselves. They had a clear common goal, and they never compromise on excellence. And people trust them. Stock market will trust them. Employees will trust them and join them. Customers will buy their services or goods because they think they make world-class products. And at the core of all of this, my friends, is the leader, his or her vision, and the people you bring on board. This is what determines the other 6 little circles I have on my slide. Any questions, thoughts?
Just one question. Sorry for the background noise. So why isn't finance there in any of your circles?
Great question. I am not talking about the tangibles, where I'm saying how much capital do you have, how much sales. Then there's no sales also, if you notice, right? Finance doesn't come if there's no sales, right? I'm not talking of functions here. That's what I said. Use this like a building block. This is a little more nebulous. If I were to convert this in terms of, let us say, if I were to say, hey, let's just talk about the functions, right? Let's talk MBA speak. Then there are only 2 things you need, or at least 3 things you need. You need capital to start a company. You need sales to keep the company going, and you need people to do these 2 things. Only 3 things. The rest of the functions will come much later. So to your question, I can talk to you about that, but I'm talking to you more assuming that you're young minds, and some of you in this conversation and saying, hey man, I don't mind being an entrepreneur. So what does it take to be an entrepreneur? I would love some guy who's made all his mistakes and muddled through life and tell me what his or her experience be. And that's what I'm sharing with you. What I'm sharing with you is my entrepreneurial experience of, let's say, 18 or 19 years being in an entrepreneurial organization, large corporates. What did I learn are the building blocks. You need these. Whether it's, you take this little template I gave you, and you can put it in any function: sales, finance, human resources, quality. All of this is important. You need to have knowledge. You need to have a clear goal what the finance function is going to be doing. You need to know you got to work as a team. You need to have good knowledge of rules and regulations as a finance team. How do you raise the capital? You need to build trust. Only then investors are going to put money in you. So you can take this template and take any function, finance, HR, and you slap it on below it. It'll answer your question. Do that as an exercise. The sales, HR, finance, so on and so forth, technology, all of that sits on top of this. They need to have these 6 things, all of these departments, to be successful in an entrepreneurial organization. In any organization, you could turn around and say, hey, does it not need it from the larger? But the impact is so telling that it will determine success and failure of an organization. It's like, I keep giving this example. Like, let's say you're sitting in a rowboat. There are only 2 of you. And I shake in the rowboat. The boat will shake a lot. And if I dance on the boat can even fall in. But if I'm sitting in a nice cruise, in a big ship, and I dance, I jump, I thump, the ship won't sink. We won't fall into the water. I may make some noise. So when the organization is very large, your impact is that much more reduced. The denominator is really big. You don't have that kind of impact. However, when you're small, like we are an entrepreneurial organization, what Archana and myself do, it will impact. If I do something today, tomorrow my organization will face the impact. So it's essential to know that these are the building blocks which will help us from becoming a rowboat to a big ship. That growth is what we are hoping to do. And for that to happen, you need to understand these building blocks. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hi, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Christopher. So I have a question to you regarding the trust that you have mentioned here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have actually started a company here in my place a few months ago.
Okay.
So
where are
I
you
have a
from,
question regarding
Christopher? Where are you from?
I'm from a small town in Assam.
Where in Assam?
Assam, Kokrajhar.
Kokrajhar, okay.
Yeah.
Continue, yeah.
Yeah. So my question is like, now I have like around 3 men under me. So they are working under me. Mm-hmm. And I really have a trust issue on them, like, because most of the times, like during the account activities or any operational activity, I find that they do a lot of mistakes. And so whenever they give me some report or something, so I again go back and check if it's correct or not. And most of the times I find that they did a lot of mistakes. So I just wanted to know if by not trusting them, I'm doing the right thing for the organization, or I should be trusting them blindly.
Great question. So I think, Rega, to your question, let's use Christopher's template and put it on see if my template works, right?
Yes.
Okay. So Christopher, what is the business you do?
So it's a hyperlocal delivery.
Excellent. So you do local deliveries, right? So
yes,
I'm going to now speak, correct me if I'm wrong. So when you're having your 3-member team delivering whatever they are delivering, they are making the wrong delivery, or they're too late, or they could have been rude with the customer when they delivered. There are like 3 or 4 things they could have gone wrong, right?
Yes, sir.
These are the 3 or 4 things that can typically go wrong.
Yes, sir. And actually about the financial transactions as well, like a lot of calculations.
So trust, boom. So it comes from the trust bucket. Now, the next one is knowledge. How committed are they to the work? Do they believe in the excellence? Do they believe in the common goal of building a great hyper-local delivery company in Kokrajhar? Being the best hyper-local delivery in Kokrajhar. Do they believe it? Or they think, hey, come on, Christopher's just fooling around. He's going to go for his MBA. He's just doing it because he's bored. They don't take you seriously. Okay? And then trust is a 2-way street. They need to trust you so that you can trust them. So use this template. I'm happy to share this presentation to you, Christopher. Use this template to see how many boxes you're able to check. Did you spend time making sure that they could be good delivery people? Because you don't go hire a Harvard graduate to do delivery, right? You hire somebody for whom delivery is a great job. For whom, their skills and their capabilities, that's a great job. They're happy with the money that you provide them. They're excited about it. And you have given it clearly, what are we doing this business for? Hey, my 3 friends, 3 amigos, we are in the business of doing hyper-local delivery, and this is what is the measure of success for us. If we do this, people will say you're great, and they're going to give us more work. And very soon we'll have 6 of us doing it. Very soon we'll have 60 of us doing it. You need to be able to translate that vision. And that comes from
Sir, So actually, here I was talking about like I have some delivery people. They are doing mistakes, but I don't actually mind that because that happens. But actually, my problem was with some of the officials, like who is handling the finance part and someone who is handling the operations part. So there are mistakes in their work. So my problem was with
Excellent.
that.
So you're talking of your back office. Is your back office having
Yeah.
problems? Then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just translate it. Back office, what is their goal in the larger scheme of things? Assuming this is like are you by your undergrad was in engineering or non-engineering? What's your background?
It was engineering.
Excellent. So you know these wheels, they have to work in unison, right? They're like gear wheels. They all have to work to make the other wheels move around, correct? That's why I use these kind of images. So if you see it, if they knew what their knowledge of what they have to be doing, they believe that they can do it, they can build trust, and they're working towards a common goal of excellence, and they'll continue to work hard. So absolutely not trusting is not a bad thing. The short answer to your question is, and here's what I'm going to say, and I keep telling this to my team as well. Trust is binary. You either trust or you don't trust. You can't have I moderately trust. I trust them on occasions. So if they're not delivering, they're not the right people, my friend. You're wasting your time. It's like putting a bandage and trying to make things happen. If you ever have to be policing them, imagine when 3 delivery becomes 30 delivery, how much of policing you'll be doing. You're only focusing on how many mistakes you made today. You cannot grow. If you want to grow, they need to know exactly what their job is. So you as a leader, absolutely, if you do not trust them, then you have some problem with your people then. And if you really want to grow your organization, nothing should come in the way of your vision. If they're coming in the way of your growth and your vision, you either help them, give them chances, depending on how you want to pursue with them. You think that they can be trained and they can be reskilled and they can be improved, absolutely do it. But if their attitude and they're not able to trust them, you're going to be spinning your wheels trying to do just this. You'll forget about the growth part of it. So much of your time will go in this distraction. As an entrepreneurial organization, you don't have that luxury because you have to be moving very fast. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. I think you're saying that I need to be choosing the right people for this.
Yeah. So there are two things, right? Or you've not given them the clear message. You've not told them exactly what you expect from them. They don't know what you measure as success. Your measure of success is not making a single mistake. They should know that. You think from where you are as a leader, you think it's obvious. Come on. What else are you doing this for? If Virat Kohli is going to step on the field tomorrow, the only objective he has to win. He can't say, oh, I did not know that. I thought I had to be most popular with the crowd. No, you got to win, my friend. And all his other 10 players have to think we got to come there and win. So one is you have to be able to make sure that all of them are aligned to your vision. Yeah, it sounds like big words for something very modest you're doing today. Believe me, that is where the excellence comes in. Even if you're doing a hyper-local delivery, you take it seriously. Elon Musk started off in a YMCA building. Didn't have fancy office in New York City. He had a tiny little shack. That's where he is today. And to give this point, his net worth is 300 billion today. So always dare to dream big. Believe in yourself. If it's 3 people, doesn't matter. Who knows? You might be sitting on a $50 million idea. Who knows? Never undersell or self-doubt yourself. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. All the best to your business.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Great. So I think I'm kind of coming to the end of my presentation. I think the timing is pretty good. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. What are the traits of a visionary entrepreneurial leader? Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. You want to solve a big problem. Hyperlocal delivery is a problem in Kokrajhar. Can I solve it? People are not getting what they want on time in a cost-effective way. Can I solve that problem? Is it big enough of a problem? There are 40 million households. I don't know, I'm just throwing numbers, whatever. And I think if I can help them take care of their groceries or their food, whatever is Christopher's business idea. Can I solve their problem? When you start solving a problem, or I have a great solution to do this, typically solutions have a shelf life. Solutions die. I think many of your engineers, the technologies that your father and uncles probably studied in the 80s and 90s are relics, mainframe and RPG 400. I'm sure they probably talked of Y2K. Who hears of all that today? Who hears of software life cycles which today are not even spoken about? Agile is almost an expectation. Agile is a big term in my times. Ideation is an organic process. Ideation is not like one fine morning I got up and said, yes, this is what I got it. Ideation is as you keep throwing more and more and more knowledge into what you do, you realize that you got to pivot, you got to keep changing, and you should be willing to change. Flexibility is critical in being an entrepreneurial leader. You cannot be rigid with your ideas. You don't know where the next good idea is going to come from. The next good idea could come from your janitor. It could come from your friend, your nephew, who knows. Keep your mind open. Ideas, there'll be many who will trash your idea. When somebody trashes your idea, no problem. It's just a statistic. Believe me, there'll be very few who will believe in you. Most will say, come on, this guy has gone nuts. Never mind. They are not doing the business. You are. You have to believe that we can do it. And vision alignment. Like just now, Christopher, I was sharing, every one of you should be aligned in that one single path to get to the common goal in the future. And that happens when you keep telling people why we are doing what we're doing. Sometimes entrepreneurs just don't tell their colleagues what they're doing. They just keep moving at 90 miles an hour, and these poor guys are driving at 20 miles an hour. So obviously there's a gap, and they get frustrated, they shout at each other, they scream at each other, and the organization is a mess. Both are right. Now you got to understand that, the person who's driving at 20 miles, that's their best capacity. You don't beat them up. See how you can use their 20 miles capability and drag them with you and make them do their best. The simplest, easiest example I can give is this. I don't know how many of you have been watching IPL. CSK is a classic. They got old people playing in the team. Everybody said, Daddy's Army, they'll never make it. They won the championship because they played to their potential and they just made sure they did what they can do best. That's it. Nothing dramatic, nothing great, nothing, earth-shattering. And the leader has to lead by example. Cannot be that you tell your team to do something and you're like doing something else. Cannot be. Cannot be. And that will come with humility and a deep desire to pursue things for excellence. Humility is absolutely the bedrock. You will see great leaders, great entrepreneurial leaders exhibiting immense humility. Narayan Murthy, I've had the privilege of working with him. I mean, I've had so many stories. I'm going to share one. This was 97. Murthy used to fly economy, so did I. All of us flew economy. And those days, there were very few flights in the 90s. I was flying from Bangalore to Delhi. And I used to be recruitment, HR those days. And so I used to fly like every 2-3 days. I'm on some campus, or on some hiring sprees and whatever. So I was a platinum member on Jet Airways. So those days, hardly anybody, right? So I would insist on getting a certain seat on the flight because I had the miles. And that day when I was flying to Delhi, my seat was not available. And I made a big song and dance. I cribbed and cried. What is this? I fly every other day and I don't even get this. And I said, forget it. So they gave me the next seat or whatever. And suddenly I saw Murthy at the terminal. I wished him. I said, so sir, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Delhi. He said, oh, great. So you're also going to Delhi? I said, yeah, I'm going to Delhi. So time came to board the flight. And I used to be platinum. So I would be sitting in the lounge. I'll wait for somebody to call me. And I would then board the flight. So I boarded the flight. I was like the second last guy to show up or something like that. Because I had to show up and I was the cool guy. I was a platinum member, right? So I go in and I didn't see Murthy in business class. Okay, where's Murthy? There's only one plane from Bangalore to Delhi those days. Where did Murthy go? Never mind. Just sat down. And once the flight took off, I wanted to go to the restroom. I saw Murthy in the second last seat next to the toilet, sitting near the window, reading a book. I have never felt smaller than that on that day. Here's the guy who's my CEO and chairman of my company. He's sitting in the second last row next to the toilet. He's not making a single noise. And me, I'm a tiny little fellow, some manager somewhere. I didn't get one seat where I wanted to, and I was being so pompous about it. And that's when I realized entrepreneurs, humility is intrinsic. You need to build that feeling of that. All this is not the important thing. Important thing is the goal to reach Delhi on time. That's it. That's all I'm worried about. Where I sit, what I eat, what I'm doing while I'm sitting, who's sitting next to me doesn't bother me. Clear focus on where I want to be. So please keep that. And you need to be inspired. You need to be always inspired and stay motivated. Cannot let reversals make you lose track of who you are and what you do. You cannot do that. And finally, you need to align all your people towards that futuristic goal. So thank you so much for your time today. That is my presentation. And any more questions, any more slides you want to revisit, more than happy to do so. Okay, Ashirvad Tiwari, please go ahead.
So, sir, it was a really good presentation. Sir, I had a question. Like initially, even Nilesh told that in India, initially we haven't seen many startups, but in the recent years, there is a boom of startups and entrepreneurs. But sir, I have a question that, sir, do you think that country cultures have a role in encouraging entrepreneurial spirit in a region or somewhere? Do you think it is there?
You're right. You're very right.
Like in Japan, Germany, they are leading in entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs feel it's safe while working there.
Very good question, Ashirvad. And I think I will endorse your thoughts that culture plays a very important role in building entrepreneurial spirit. Just to kind of give you and not trying to defend India, but you have to understand the history of India, right? How India has come. You people are the fortunate one. We are the transition. My generation who grew up in the 80s and 90s is a transition generation. This is when we were moving from the ration card, second class train, standing in line for rice and kerosene and palm oil in ration shops, to getting to computers, flying, planes, international. We were the transition. And you, the next generation, are a far different generation, because you say, hey man, I'm figuring out what I want to do in life. I want to see what I want to do. I want to know what is good for me. I don't like this job, I'll quit this job. In my father's generation, it was longevity. Get a job, don't leave it till you retire, till they give you that watch and the garland and let you go after 35 years. Don't leave it, come what may. Endure it. My generation became a little better. We had more options. But our culture today is changing. And we have 1.3 billion very bright minds. If you look at it, which is a fact, if you look at the Western world, they would associate Indians as bright guys. They'll say, no, they cannot be a non-bright Indian. Every Indian is very bright for them. Look at it, Amartya Sen, Raghuram Rajan, you just keep dropping names left, right, and center. Because we've sent creme de la creme there. Okay? So the point is, culture absolutely matters, Ashirvad. And we are evolving. And I'm hopeful that this new culture that your generation is bringing is very refreshing for me. We have to have entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are the ones who beat a new path and generate new opportunities for human beings. If you don't have entrepreneurship, economies will die. The Western world is thriving because they've had entrepreneurs. They've constantly had guys coming up with new ideas. And it is encouraged. The whole great American dream, they say, right? That you can dare to dream to be anybody in the United States. You're right. We are coming from a culture of scarcity and insecurity. And I'm proud to say that today, India is looking at an economy which is looking at taking risks and being confident of your risk and not fear to fail. I think your generation will be even better than ours, where you will not be scared to fail. That's what is the bedrock of the culture. And you guys should, all of you should encourage that. Can I answer your question, Ashirvad?
Yeah, right, sir. But still, sir, it's a long way to achieve.
Long or short, we don't know, na, Ashirvad. Do you know, can you predict if India is going to win against New Zealand tomorrow?
No, sir.
But
But according to stats, yeah, it's really difficult. we cannot predict.
So in 1983 also, we were not supposed to win the World Cup, no?
Yes.
We won, right? So it's a statistic. You've done statistics, right?
Yes.
Probability lies between 0 and 1. It is not 0 or 1.
Exactly. Yeah. It cannot be more than 1. Yeah.
Even the 0.001 probability of happening, it can happen.
Yes. It makes a significant. It's significant.
And you are MBAs. You guys are. There are so many. I keep telling. The reason I asked about Munnar is my learning from Munnar is I was 21 years old when I landed up in a beautiful place called Munnar. I worked with people, my colleagues, like Archana is my colleague now. She's highly qualified and she can speak better English than me. My colleagues those days were the pluckers, which you see in so romantically they are portrayed on movies and everything. They got a little basket and they're like plucking tea. You know how they take their salary? LTI, left hand thumb impression. They can't even take a pen and write their names. That's the generation we worked. They don't even know how to write their name. If I wrote and said, you're giving me everything, and then the poor girl man puts her thumb impression, over. It's a legal document. So we came from there. And this is not too far back. So there are so many people who are less privileged and fortunate than us, Ashirvad, in India. You guys are the creme de la creme. You guys have to have the mindset that there are so many people who are less privileged and fortunate than me. I have to do something for them. And that's when it becomes lesser and lesser and lesser difficult. South Korea, Japan, you just mentioned Japan. They were devastated in the war. How did they become a superpower? Belief, power, pride. Pride and arrogance is a very scary thing. You have to be proud. You can never be arrogant. So believe in yourself that you can do it. Believe me, you will do it. Hopefully our paths will cross in the future and we can talk about it someday.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All the best to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Anisha.
Sir, you said the most important trait of an entrepreneur is not giving up. So how
I'm sorry, I missed you there. What was that you said?
Is not giving up.
Not giving up
easily. Yeah. So how do entrepreneurs cope up with failures emotionally and financially?
Well, they are human. They cry, they weep and they wail and they say, what is going on with my life? Why am I not jumping off the bridge? Why am I not hanging myself from a tree? Absolutely, they go through all that. Financially, they're wiped out. They put their families through immense hardships and pain. It's a torture. No sugarcoating that, Anisha. It's a torture. The best example I can give you is, easy example, is you see some people who go to the gym or they go to this and they want to have that six-pack and all of that. You think it's easy?
Yes, sir. No,
It's so much easier to sit on the sofa and watch a movie with chips and chocolate in your hand, no? So easy. But you go there, you sweat it out, your body's aching, you want to die. But that belief that when I have a six-pack and the world says, boss, you're looking like a movie star, worth it. Same thing an entrepreneur. Financial, emotional, any difficulty, you're beaten. But that vision of I have 1,000 people working in my company, we are generating world-class service, gives you energy. You don't want to give up. You dust yourself off. Okay, if I go here, that guy's going to beat me and I got to find another path. You pivot. You keep going. Archana has been with me for now 3 years. She has seen us pivot so many times. Have we seen failures? Every day we see failures. Failure is now like success. It comes to us. Take it. Roll with the punches, as they say. So never, never give up. That's my WhatsApp tagline also, because my team has to see it every day. Never give up.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Yes, Amina.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Amina.
Hi. So my question is, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have done differently when you started out?
Knowing what I know now, no, I don't think so. I don't think, I mean, only till you don't know, Amina, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And knowledge is like, hindsight is 20/20, you heard that, I'm sure. So you go in a certain belief with the best intention, you go. And then when you get hit on a roadblock, oh God, can't do it. Turn. Go get hit. Oh God, can't do it. Like, Edison once said, he didn't say, I didn't make 100,000 mistakes. I found out 100,000 ways of not doing something. That was a quote Edison made. Edison, the great inventor, right? He's from my home state, by the way. So Thomas Alva Edison said that I found 100,000 ways of not doing something. So it's important that when you learn, you just tighten up. And if you ask my team members, they'll tell you that every day when we make a mistake, it's okay, can't do it this way. Because insanity, I want to give you this fun thought. Insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. That's called insanity. The simplest description of insanity. So if you keep doing the same thing again and again, you'll go mad. Don't do it. Change. So change is the constant. So yes, I don't know if I would have done anything differently. I went to the certain gut and I've learned a lot, but it has helped me. I have absorbed the only thing I've been doing is become more and more humble in learning from my mistakes and internalizing it, not only for myself, for my other team members, that we should not do this anymore.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Good morning, Mr. Srirangan.
Hi, Radha.
Yeah, I am a faculty here.
Yes, go ahead.
Just I have a. This is not related with actually what is that you were explaining regarding what should be the characteristics of an entrepreneur. My question is something that is related to the ecosystem of an entrepreneurship in India.
Okay.
Probably some 4 years, 5 years back, I suppose you would have moved to US to start your.
No, I moved 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Okay, fine. Yeah. Now, what is said recently was that, say, somewhere around 35,000 high net worth entrepreneurs have left India during the past 5 years.
Okay.
Okay. And whereas the US have been striving they have been coming out with these entrepreneurship, even the Indians moving out of India start their own entrepreneurship or start their own, say, the firms in the US or in other countries. Even in South Korea, they go and start from India. Mm-hmm. Why is that phenomena of moving out of India with their ideas and starting elsewhere has been gaining ground? Going by these numbers that it's what is stated, say some 35,000, it seems to be like quite mind-boggling. And wherein it said that between 2014 and 16 is what is a startup bubble.
Okay.
Why do you think that this ecosystem, is there anything that is troubling with respect to the startup ecosystem in India? Because we find that whether it is Malya's case, wherein he started a low-cost or so-called low-cost airlines, which had to be closed, and Jet Airways, all these airlines in India has not been working good, and they are closing out. Is there anything that is wrong with the Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem that is creating these troubles?
Okay. So, sir, I have to firstly, make that one disclaimer. So, I've not been an entrepreneur in India. So that is my first disclaimer. But I still have strong roots in India, and I have my colleagues in India. We have offices in India. So my knowledge of it is going to be slightly secondhand, but still I'm going to hazard a response and see if I can answer your question. Now, let me talk about United States. I've been in this country for 20 years. This country is just very young, actually. At some level, it's just 400 years old. Relatively, it's not even a fraction of who we are. And there are some inherent advantages this country enjoys. Let's say United States. Size, population, resources, everything, military base, whatever. It's got a lot of positives that work in its favor. And inherently, freedom of speech, the entrepreneurial mindset, the American dream, as I was sharing, is a cultural build here. It is cultural build. We have, like I was sharing with the students, that I come from a generation where if you got into, when I quit Tata Tea in 1994, people said, why are you quitting Tata's? Why are you quitting Tata Tea? It's the best job in Kerala. Why would you leave that company? I was an anomaly. I was a outlier. So we have a cultural challenge that we are overcoming. And I can see the speed at which it is, and I'm very happy and I'm very optimistic about India, that India will, in spite of all this, India will still succeed. India will still do well, is my belief. And there are people like me who need to also chime in as, folks who can lend a hand. So to answer your question, Exodus is heartbreaking. But I have heard from friends who are entrepreneurs in India that sadly, some of the government legislations, some of the practices are very archaic. They have not been tuned to the changing times. So the legal system, the infra, they are not moving at the speed at which the Indian mind is moving. So there is a lag, the government has to play catch up. And well, you can participate by voting, participate by raising your voice and doing all of that. And to that, I think it was Ashirwad who asked me, I think there it's going to take some time. Versus you and I making a decision in a smaller ecosystem, we can make decisions faster. Unfortunately, the changes are going to take some time. And also our size, with 1.3 billion, it's not easy to move the needle very easily. So yes, other economies have some inherent systemic advantages which we do not enjoy today. So obviously innovation has to be even better in the Indian system. And again, I think like a few of these people shared, startups have been, they are probably growing at the fastest pace today in India. The kind of companies, and I keep seeing the kind of funding that's happening. A lot of money is coming into India today to startups, which is very encouraging and very, very gladdening for me.
Okay. You mentioned something like innovation.
Okay.
Right? Innovation, the rate of innovation in India is going up. Yes, of course, whatever might be the flight, the exodus that is taking place, still there are startups that are being started, and there are fundings that are taking place. There are new ideas that are being generated. At NITC, we have a technological business incubator. There are many people who are coming out with these new ideas. With respect to this innovation, what we find is that when some innovation fails, whether there is anything that is to cope up with this failure that is taking place with respect to the governmental measures that are in place, how is that this failure with respect to the innovation can be supportive to that entrepreneur? Whether is there any clusters that are being promoted as part of the ecosystem where even the private players can make a part in this ecosystem that makes it independent of the governmental interventions?
Again, sir, my knowledge is going to be second-hand since we operate in the US. But I will, again, to the best of my abilities, I'll answer. I know that many are very bullish. At least I have friends and colleagues of mine. I have come from a world when I used to sell services 20 years back in the United States, saying that India was not a good term. But somewhere today, India is an essential term. If you're not doing your software build in India, then what are you doing? It's like that. Why are you building it in the United States when you can build it in India when there are so many intelligent engineers, MBAs available, and they are far more inexpensive than the guys in the US or Canada? That's the first change that has happened. And that I feel is helping, I'm assuming, that India people are more bullish. So I do see private participation in building these eco parks and the tech parks and these innovation parks, and it is happening, research parks. But at what speed and what pace, sir, I do not know. So I do not want to hazard a response, and because I don't have data on that. What is it? But yeah, I believe a lot is happening relatively, but is that speed enough to fulfill and satisfy the appetite of the Indian economy? I don't know.
Okay.
Could not be, because this is I'm answering just on a gut feel, because we always want things very quickly in India. So probably the speed at which these things are moving are not good enough. It should move faster, I feel.
Okay. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
So, by the way,
yes,
probably because of your appearance, it doesn't look like to me that you moved to the US, say, some 20 years back.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
because,
it was.
Thank you. Because, I am still like I was telling, I asked my first question, I don't know if you were there on the call or that, and the first thing I asked is anybody from Munnar here?
Yeah.
I started my career in Kerala. Not many can claim that. From my generation, there are hardly any industries.
Yeah, we have students from across India.
Okay.
Though, say, some 2 years or 3 years back, predominantly our MBA students were from Kerala, though we had students from Tamil Nadu, from Delhi, and from West Bengal. Now it is getting even more diversified. The crowd is getting.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. In fact, this is one campus I could not visit, REC Calicut. Sorry, I'm calling it REC because for me,
still it is known as REC here.
Yeah, because I come from that generation. So, because we used to have an office in Mangalore in Infosys. So the Mangalore guys used to go to Calicut. Easier for them to go up the road or go down the road. Sorry. So, but for me, way back, there was a gentleman called Professor Mathai who used to organize something called Shreds. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah,
He used to get all the colleges of Kerala, from Muatupura to this, that, Angamali, everywhere, some 30 colleges. He'll bring them to Cochin. And we all used to go to Cochin, and we used to test those kids there and make job offers to them in the 90s. His name was Professor Mathai. I don't know if he still does it. He's an REC Calicut professor.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not aware of that.
That's okay. So yeah, I miss Kerala. I've never been to Calicut, been to Cochin numerous times, obviously.
Okay.
So
that's nice.
So, but thank you so much for the opportunity. Any other questions?
If not, then I would like to invite Amina MS to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you.
That is from the student side. We appreciate your time and effort in coming out here and then sharing your experience.
Thank you, sir. It's been my privilege and pleasure. And I was telling them that it's a Saturday night for all of you. Thank you for finding time to, listen to me. I hope that this, hour has been well spent. There's something that you can go back with at the end of this conversation.
Yeah, right. True.
Good evening, everyone. So,
Sir, I'm sorry. Just would like to add something. I was saying about high net worth individuals leaving. So I had read about it, like China. China is the second after India. China is the country that has the second highest number of HNIs leaving the country, and Australia was the biggest gainer of these people. So I think. I was also reading some of the books by Ruchir Sharma. He's a very influential person. He does a lot of his research, etc., all across the developing countries. He's written quite a few books. So what he was saying is that India is not doing that great with privatization, like they should or they're supposed to do. It is still a socialist state. Like almost everything government sort of is pressured or is obligated to provide to the people. And what he really said, which I found interesting, was that when you have a company failing, say Jet Airways or any company failing, there is pressure, indirect pressure on the government that they're somehow favoring the these businesses. So there was this talk about suit boot cars. So what he was saying is that there should be whenever there are cases of bankruptcy, insolvency and bankruptcy code is there. It came in India, I think, in 2016. So, they should not be looked like that. But here, the masses are not that literate as well. We'll take some time mentioned to get used to that thing that, for almost everything that we do, there is an economic cost. Like what US does right now, like where they are.
So, Girdhar, so what's your question?
Actually, I was just adding on to what I was saying.
Okay.
Like,
So,
where we stand right now.
So, I think I'll just tell you that, again, not in the defense of India or defense of anybody else. Every economy does it. If you go and look, since you said you're interested in finance, look at the 2008 crash of the US economy when the mortgage crash happened. The US economy, US government bailed out every big boy, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan. It's called TARP. Go read it up. It's called TARP. You're probably in school at that time, so maybe not have read it at that time. So read up what they did. So every economy does that, whether you're socialist or capitalist in your behavior. Because you see, what is the government's fear? Let's say tomorrow, now Jet Airways, what really happened to Jet Airways? Or let's say Kingfisher. The number of jobs that went away. Delivery boys, the guy who loads the luggage, those are blue collar jobs. India has 1.3 billion human beings. They all need a job. They all need something to do so that they can go buy their food and go and stay in their homes. Those jobs go away. The government is responsible. They feel responsible. That's why the government has promised to provide well-being and welfare. So those are times, which is a very economic question. So I'm sure in your program, you'll jump into these conversations on macroeconomics, that sometimes you do take socialist steps. US is a capitalist. In fact, the government was capitalist. It was a Republican government at that time, but still, they had to step in and help these companies from the story about too big to fail. Go read up on that. Too big to fail is so big that you will fail and millions will get impacted. The whole world will come crumbling. So it's a lot more macroeconomics, Girdhar, that government sometimes props it up. It looks, I don't want that. Ideal world, everything should be on its own. But sometimes government steps in, there's government policy. So again, it's way beyond my capabilities to answer on that. But I have a rough sense why they may do that, because I do not want organizations to fail, because that will put people on the streets. If you're generating new jobs, new companies, yeah, absolutely. Let one thing die and a new plant comes up, right? So to your point, it will be interesting for you, since you are interested in finance, to read up on the 2008 crash and what the US economy did and what TARP meant and how companies came out of TARP and so on.
Yes, sir. Actually, I've covered all those things. I mean, in my studies, academic.
Excellent. Yeah. So you have a sense that every economy does it. Every economy does it at some point. The Canadian economy,
yes, sir.
Canada,
yeah, I mean,
Singapore.
I mean, in macroeconomics, they say it as Keynesian measure. You spend a lot of money when there is recession, so that economic growth bounces back real quick.
Very true. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that you've done Keynesian economics. I'm very impressed. Not many even know how to spell that, guy. So yes, you're absolutely right. The theory of full employment is all about that. Good work. Great. Thank you so much for all these questions. Like I used to say that when I used to make presentations, and when I had no questions, I would say either my presentation was so good that you were spellbound, or it was so boring that you had nothing to ask me, just waiting for me to get out. So this is good. So you had a few questions for me. So I'm at least hopeful that your time was well spent. And I thank you for the time to share my thoughts with you. And if you have any questions, absolutely feel free, reach out to me. If I can be of any help, I'm more than happy to help you guys.
So we'd like to thank our speaker, Dr. Ringo Rajagopal, CEO of uMobi Solutions Corporation, for sparing some time from amidst his busy schedule for enlightening us. So we had a very great time with you, sir, and thank you so much. I'd also like to thank Archana Sundaram ma'am and other members of the uMobi family who have joined us. And next, I'd like to thank our faculty advisor, Dr. T. Radharamanan, and faculty placement coordinator, Dr. Srijit SS, for their support. And I'd also like to thank our audience for being such a vibrant participation of this event, and also for raising such relevant questions on this Saturday evening. I hope that our session served all of your purposes. And once again, a very big thank you. Good night.